finally time. A lot of you guys have been asking me about the team building aspects of, I was about to say Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero. I've been doing this for a little bit. Anyway, a big gist of what goes on with team building is actually pretty basic, but you take that, the simplicity behind it, and then that's what can get a little bit more mechanically advanced or in depth, if you will. I know how some of the people feel about like Zenless has no depth to it. Like I don't listen to them. The other day I was on Hex's stream and I pretty much did a collab with her going over honestly the basics of the game. I was teaching her what I thought was pretty basic, but it's not, and I was actually going over some pretty intermediate or advanced stuff. And then that's when I realized that a lot of you guys actually don't know some of the stuff that I'm talking about, and I should probably take it a step back. And shout outs to her, by the way, because she was actually one that asked me if I could actually break things down in a more simplistic manner so that she could have like a, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of thing. And then I think that really worked out. So it made it so much easier for me to make this team guide for you guys, because honestly, I had no idea how I was going to explain this, because I didn't think, where did all this light come from? I didn't think it was going to be that difficult to make a team building guide, or like I'm just going to go over it. So ideally, the basis of team building is going to be broken down into really 3 simple things: damage, the characters that give you access to said damage and how that may be possible, and then of course, beautiful style, aka sauce. Now you guys know me, I use training mode for a lot of things. The easiest way to explain this whole team building process is to walk you through it pretty much step by step. So there's a couple different factors that you can take into account, which I'll try and break them down in a decent manner, if you will, but these things are all over the place because it's just in my head. You have 3 character slots that you can choose from, and then each of these character slots is going to be broken down into how you want to access whatever it is you're doing. So if I, for instance, want to play like a juggle team, yeah, I can look at my launching characters or characters that have launchers, but again, that's like a whole intermediate process. So I guess we'll start off with the basic, right? The cunning hairs. I like the cunning hairs. I think they're pretty cool. So what is it? Necromata. We also have Anvi, and then of course we have Nicole and Billy. Billy can be in place of Necromata since they're both going to be your physical characters. Doesn't really matter. It's just giving you a different option and a different playstyle for both. But they're both going to be damaged. You can tell that based off of these symbols. So you see over here, it'll say physical and attack, which means attacking is usually going to be your DPS character. You have Nicole, who's support. Supports can be broken down in a couple different things. They could be more of a supportive to like one type of character, or they can be supportive to the entire team. You have Anomaly. Anomaly is basically like another form of a DPS. If you're familiar with Star Rail, then or even Pokemon or anything else like a turn-based RPG, then Anomaly is basically going to be your DOT in the game, if you will. It's all the shocks, your ethers. But I'll explain that too in a little bit, because all the different anomalies, I don't know why the game doesn't explain this crap to you, but each anomaly does something else, and it's kind of cool. And some of the anomalies are actually super specific, or rather the reactions are super specific. And then of course you have stun. Stun is going to be the ones that you're going to be building up your days meter with. I also want to mention, where's boy at? Big Ben, bigger, right? Defense is going to be similar to how stun works in a way. It's like a mixture of support and stun. In Ben's case, with this counter, he actually has a way to amplify the days meter that he's doing to the enemies whenever they're attacking him, and then he also increases that, gives the team a shield, so on and so forth. First character on the squad, you usually call this a point character. Now, me and the boys were actually kind of going back and forth about this for a brief period of time just to figure out what we wanted to call a point character, because originally I was going to call your point character your DPS character. That's going to be the character that you start off with in the team, the combat, the mode, whatever it is, Shiyu defense, or Hollow Zero, whatever. This is a character that essentially helps you build energy the fastest. Now, my Marvel players, they're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. That's why I'm explaining it to you guys that don't play those games. Point character essentially just means your meter builder. They're gonna be the ones that build up all the meter. They're gonna be the ones that do as much damage as possible before going out, and they're gonna be the ones that you're most comfortable with. However, in this particular game, due to the fact that you usually want to use your burst with your DPS character, or you want to set everything up so that your DPS character gets all the buffs, we were kind of messing around like, maybe the stun character is going to be the point character now, and then you use the stun character to establish just some days build up, and then you go into another character. So now what your mid is going to be, your mid is basically the support. The mid character is the one that's going to be able to bring the entire team together. And the reason that you're doing it in this particular order is because of the quick assist that you get from support characters. Now, if you're using a defense character, and we don't know about the new defense characters coming out in the future, but as of right now, Ben doesn't have that. So Ben doesn't allow you to get a quick assist off of any of his attacks, to my understanding. So you can pretty much play that team however you want to. But when you have a support character on the team, and I'll go over that in a brief period of time. You pretty much want to set this up so that they play exactly in this order. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about inside of the game, and we can pretty much go from there. If you don't know how to use training mode, I suggest you get super used to using training mode. Training mode is so good for you to learn whatever it is that you want. You can add energy or unlimited energy. You can disable the movements. You can disable stun, all that kind of stuff, right? But you want to be able to get familiar with this. Hopefully in the future, I'm hoping like 1.1 or 1.0.2 patch, we actually get more training mode options, because that would be fantastic if I could actually do some setups with the bang boos. But right now, let's say that I was playing the game, right? I'm starting off in Hollow Zero or in Shiyu, and then I'm starting with my stun character. Why am I doing that? Now, for instance, or for me specifically with Ambi, Ambi is the one that's going to lead into my juggles. So if I were playing Ambi and I'm doing something like this, I have that, and now I can come in here and go for my juggles and do stuff like that, right? So I got to juggle the enemy's at 68% dazed, and then now I can start combining that. Let's say I had a group of enemies, right? Because Ambi can pick up multiple enemies at one time. So 1, 2, 3 into uppercut, 1, 2, 3, do this, go back into Ambi, and then somehow, you know, pick that up, right? It just depends on like how you're doing it. I haven't tested these two yet. This is just off the dome. That's what you're doing there. Some players like to stay on stun and just, you know, until they get the stun, right? They're going to stay here, and then once they get the stun, then they'll go into their other characters, and then they'll do stuff like that. And you saw right there at the bottom screen, the quick assist popped up from Nicole being able to get the chain attack. That's what I mean when I say that the order of your team with the support character matters. You basically want your support to be in front of your DPS character. It doesn't matter how you order it team-wise, but those two want to be lined up together, so that whenever Nicole gets something happening, so I'll give her unlimited energy real quick. When she gets all of her energy, right, everything that she does leads into a quick assist. And multiple support characters do this, just some have it easier or better than others, right? Nicole, all of her orbs give you a quick assist. All the chain attacks give you a quick assist. So I can do it again, right? Boom. And then I just got 2 quick assists. And so for instance, with Nekomata, you actually get big boost when you do certain stuff with these characters. If I'm not mistaken, it's in her core passive. Let me just double check it here, where if she gets a quick assist or something like that. Am I lying to y'all? There's no way. There we go. All right, yeah, when Nekomata's dodge counter or quick assist hits an enemy, her damage increases by 30% for 6 seconds. 6 seconds is a pretty long time when you know what you're doing. If you're just mashing, and this is by no means to say like, oh, you shouldn't be mashing. I don't care what you do, right? If you're just mashing, you're not really paying attention to what you're doing and why. And I think that's the biggest factor when it comes to an action-based game like this, is that if you at least know why you're doing something, the implication or the purpose behind what you're doing is so much more impactful. So with Nekomata, like I say, fully kitted out, you want to go for the back attacks at all times, which means you've got about 6, maybe 5 seconds to get behind the enemy. Now, whenever quick assist happens with Nekomata, you see she stays in front, and now you can pretty much do something. Let me see if I can actually trigger it without getting him to, I don't want to get stun off. That's what I don't want. Like that, right? So now I'm behind the enemy, and that took what, like 1 second, give or take. And there's different ways that you can go about that. You don't have to do the hold attack. You can just kind of like zip through them if you want to. You can go straight for the cross assault, whatever it is that you're doing, right? Or you could even set it up so that Nicole is just behind the enemy. For whatever reason, the enemy's turned around, you pop them like this. They're already in the back. And then now I'm already behind them. I get a cross assault. I have that increase of 30% damage. And then again, that's a core passive. So that 30% can go up as high as it wants to, right? But that's typically the way that you're going to go with team building. And this changes depending on the team, but the common concept of what you're doing with this team pretty much stays the same. So if I were going to be playing with the Ellen team, right, I was going to do something like this, and then I was going to pop Rena on the team. Actually, I did the order wrong. Rena goes. And so now we're here. Same concept pretty much applies, right? If I were to, let's say that I left the enemy on, I turned off, he's going to get stunned in almost immediately, but it doesn't really matter. Let's see, I don't need energy all the way on, right? But let's make it so that he can't die. Yeah. So now I'm playing the game, everything's starting out. I can get my kicks off. I can do stuff like that, right? Because Lycan is, you know, the best stunner in the game. That's going to happen. Now Rena comes out, I get my quick assist there, and then I'm good to go, right? That's pretty much like the gist of how you're thinking about playing the game. Obviously, you're going to have a multitude of these guys on the field at one time, right? So whenever you're doing anything, for the most part, you just want to be aware of what's going on. Now you can start mixing in like stuff like this, where you want to do your switch text or who's coming in to do what. Some of you guys were asking me based off the comments that I read. Let me see here and turn him off. You guys were asking me basically when to properly switch, how to do meter management, spatial awareness, daze combos, you know, rotations, things like that. Yeah. So when it comes to the meter management, I'll say that is 100% just being aware. Like you can't really control that. The reason I say that is because you could essentially stack everybody on your team to have like extra energy, right? You can give them energy regen so that if I were to mash attack, if you look at Rena and her energy bar in the middle, you see eventually she gets energy, right? At some point in time, she's gonna get that energy. So I'm attacking, she's building energy, but you see it's incredibly slow compared to what Lycan already has max energy right now, right? I've already maxed out Lycan's energy. Ellen barely got some energy, and then Rena barely got some energy, and Rena doesn't have her signature weapon, so she's not gaining any extra energy from that because a lot of you won't have that. Lycan doesn't have his signature weapon. In fact, Ellen is the only one right now that has her signature weapon. So when you're doing stuff like this, it's important to pay attention to what is going on the field, who's doing what, and when you want energy. A good trade that I do is if I know I'm trying to build somebody's energy, you have to know how to play that character. I think that's probably something that I probably should have said first, is that when you get a character, go into training mode. I was saving that. Oh, that was my general tips. My bad. But yeah, I'll say it now. Go into training mode. You need to be in training mode as often as you can until you're super familiar with the character, if you care about learning more about the game. If you don't and you're having fun just like doing, you know, 1 2 3 1 2, and like that's what you're into, hey man, more power to you. This is more so for the people that want to take it to the next step and just get a little bit more in tune with what they're doing. If I was doing stuff with Lycan, I know that he has a couple different kicks, he's got charges, and then of course he's got skills. Yeah. So in Lycan's case, I like juggling. I like using juggles because what juggles allow me to do is the enemy can't do anything and I still get whatever it is that I'm looking for, right? So I can come out here, do something like this, and now I do that. And you saw that I brought multiple characters out, right? I was able to get Lycan's launch off. I was able to bring out Rena and get a little bit of extra energy for her. And then I was also able to get Ellen out. So if I were to burn everyone's energy, I'm burning everyone's energy. I'm doing the thing. I think he's actually gonna be frozen. There we go. All right. And then shatter. All right, cool. Now I'm burning people's energy, right? Come out. I do something like that. I messed it up. Don't count that. Don't count that. I'm gonna leave it in so you guys know I'm not perfect. But 1 1 2 into that, right? I dropped the combo. I didn't get the spark off because she doesn't have the energy for it. But you saw when she came out, compared to when I was just matching with Lycan, my Rena's already almost at half a bar just from coming out on the field, being able to do a single attack and then releasing her regular skill. Eventually her little dolls are going to hit somebody. And then I was also able to build up Ellen's meter to over half. Here we go. I was able to build up Ellen's meter to over half just from a few basic attacks, right? So when you have enemies in suspended states, it helps with building energy, but it's not mandatory for you to build energy. You really just need to understand how you switch, right? It's so much more calculated when you're playing the game or going through the your team and your characters to figure out what everyone has a different way of doing stuff. When you want to switch, the easiest thing that I look at is the animation, right? How long is this animation? I'm not going to switch off this kick, right? This kick is super basic. I'm not going to switch off that. I'm not going to switch off this. It's too basic. But if I were to do this, the overhead, I could switch off of the overhead and he gets the entire animation. They go flying back. And now somebody like Rena can take advantage of that, right? She can hit them from afar and get everything situated and going. If I were just doing my regular stuff and I didn't have that kick, I can now come into that, get the juggle off. See, and it just changes slightly, right? I change the way that I'm playing ever so slightly. Of course, this is going to change when I'm fighting, let's say, like a big guy, because a lot of people always say like, oh, you can't stun so-and-so, right? Well, yeah, you cannot not stun them, but can't juggle a big guy, which changes it slightly so that you need to kind of be like, all right, I see that he's doing his slashes, whatever. Almost every enemy is in the game in training mode for you to come train with, right? Or at least the base version of them. There are some more advanced versions of these guys that are in the game later on. And some of the enemies in the game just aren't in training mode. Why? I don't know. But yeah, you see how I dodged twice. I wasted a dodge. A lot of people, you guys just do this, right? You see the enemy attacking, he's running at you, you're just mashing dodge. You don't have to do that. You do have a dodge cooldown timer, right? So you need to be aware of like when you're dodging. Now I'm playing on PlayStation, so I got like an automatic frame delay, which means some of you guys actually have an automatic frame delay. So you have to press it a little bit earlier when you're anticipating, right? Or you see it just a little bit earlier. In this case, when the glint happens or goes away, that's when he's gonna load up and charge. But I can sit here all day and practice training against this guy so that I get my timings down. Backdash, some people's backdashes are different. By the way, all backdashes are not the same, or all regular dashes are not the same. The speed at which, I mean, right? Rena has a little bit of iframes when she starts her backdash. She's a very elusive character, so it just kind of goes in her favor. It's gonna go away the glint, and then I got the dodge off, right? Because I've been sitting here like looking at it, I'm timing it. I know I don't have to waste, oh man, I don't know when the attack's coming. The reason you're not doing that is because if I'm moving around, right, you see that I don't get any of the no dodge counters, right? I dodged that, but no dodge counter. Had I perfect dodged it, that would allow me to do some other stuff like that. Boom, she gets her attack off. I go into Ellen, Ellen's on the field, and now I get double the damage, yeah? So I'm not really worried about that. Boom, I get double the damage. Ellen was on the field, she got an attack off, and now I have Lycan coming out. And you're able to essentially save yourself in situations that you otherwise would get hit in or just don't want to take damage in, right? And it's really good for that. You also have things with parry. I didn't do it right that time, but let me see if I can get it here for you guys. That wasn't it either. I'm essentially showing you what Azrael put on the map, which is the DP assist. Now, how you do this is basically called plinking. I'm not gonna explain that in this video because I don't think y'all need to know that in a team building video. It's like a little bit of, you know, some more advanced kind of stuff, but I just wanted to come in here and show you guys essentially how team building works, like how my thought process behind stuff like that works. As far as damage rotations go, I don't think anything in this game is static. I think that's one of the things that I disagree with when it comes to some of the theory crafting that's going around. Simply not even because like it's not a combo, right? That's not what I'm thinking about when I say this. It's more so that, like, let's see, if I were to, I don't even want to use Ellen. I'm gonna show you Grace and I'm gonna show you Rena, right? Not because they're like some crazy cracked out perfect team or anything like that, but simply because the point that I'm getting across is that everything changes depending on your character. What you'll see a lot of Grace players do, and I've been talking about this all week, right? A lot of Grace players will do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then throw a grenade. And you waste this character. So something that she didn't have in CBT2 that even I wasn't aware of until Moon pulled her, and I was like, yo, what are those stacks at the top? Grace now has a new passive, pre-driven needle. When Grace's basic attack or dash attack hits an enemy and she deals the damage, she gains 1 stack of zap up to 8 stacks. Upon reaching maximum stacks, using a special attack or EX special attack will consume all of them, increasing the anomaly built up by X%. You can increase this up to like 80 or 90%, something like that. It's really ridiculous. But even without the increased buildup, because she's only at core level 1, so A, you can still get pretty much a shot guaranteed every combo. Doesn't matter to the enemy, right? Because of how much she has. When you have a fully built out Grace or even half built out Grace, she's able to do this kind of stuff. So let's put him back on it and I'll show you what I'm talking about briefly. The reason I'm showing you this is so that you guys are more aware that every team is not going to play the same. And if you pick a team, you really just go into training mode and figure out how you want to play it, when they can switch off, when they can't. So in Grace's case, she's got 1, boom, that was 3 hits. I got 3 stacks, 3 hits, 3 stacks, right? So for every hit that hits an enemy, it doesn't have to be the same enemy, you will get the stack. So now knowing that and knowing that every hit is going to give me a stack, I can do stuff like this, 1, 2, and to a dash attack, right? I fucked that up, so we're not going to count that one. But it would essentially be like 1, 2, and a dash, right? And then that would give you everything because her dash is like that. And so you can actually cancel this as fast as you want. So 1, 2, dash attack, and that would give you all stacks, yeah? So then you could pop off with your grenade. So 1, 2, dash attack grenade, and then you start moving. 1, 2, dash attack grenade. I can move around the enemy. If I feel like the enemy is coming at me, 1, 2, dash, that could trigger a dodge counter, which would then give me a dodge counter attack. Boom, that's another stack. Max grenade. So there's different ways to play the characters and different things that you can do. Grace is a very mobile character, which means you don't really have to do a lot of switching with her because she's going to build energy for herself and she really wants to be on the field for as often as she can, right? When Rena comes out, however, I can do the grenade like that, but I would like to do it off of EX grenade. So 1, 2, grenade, grenade, 1, grenade, into a max grenade, right? So when I get that max grenade, that's when I want to switch in arena. Why? Because I can just essentially pound this guy for stacks. So the way that shock works is basically, there we go, into grenade. Hold on, let me get Rena out there. I don't want to do that. for as much as they're shocked, every time you hit them while they're shocked, they get even more damage, right? Like they keep taking the shock damage every time they get hit. That's the way that works. But that's ideally how you want to play. And then of course you have Ambi if you want to put Ambi on the team, or like Intercalata. It doesn't really matter. You're just getting familiar with what's going on in the game. Quick assists are big. I think I talked about that already, but it really just comes down to who you're using and why you're using it. Yeah, because in Grace's case, now again, I just got Grace a couple days ago. I don't know what her quick assist does. I'm not gonna lie to you, Chief. Okay, so yeah, I don't see anything in here for her quick assist, but I do see upon hitting an enemy with an EX special, the next shock effect inflicted on the target increases the shock's damage, stacking up to 2 times, right? So this is pretty good. That tells you that you want to play this character obviously based or built around the idea of shocking as often as possible. Of course, you want to add in your third character for disorder, and I think that's something that I can talk about here briefly just before we like wrap this up, because I feel like I've given you guys plenty of stuff to go over. But the way that disorder works is really weird, if you will. Disorder basically works in a way where, let's say that I have Ambi on the team, that's my point. For my mid, I have Rena, and then for my final character, I don't know, I have Nekomata, right? So what's happening here is that I now have shock from these two that's pretty much guaranteed. And then I'm also going to have Nekomata being able to apply the bleed. That way I get the damage from bleed, or assault. I call it bleed, but same thing, physical, right? I'm able to get both stacked on top of it. Nekomata has very fast attacks, so she can usually put assault on an enemy by herself, because physical characters that are physical, when they hit a regular attack, they also stack up the assault. Other characters, when they use regular attacks and they're not a physical element, they can't stack up assault. But assault characters, everything they do always stacks up attack, which is another reason why assault on them is pretty strong. You can see that electric is going to deal blah, 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 right? The activation is whatever. It just stack it on top of each other. This never really matters too much. You can just stack all these, but what's really important is the debuff that happens from that. So with shock, like I told you guys, after being attacked intermittently, it means that, you know, in between the shocks, or after the shock, you hit them a bunch of times, whatever, you're dealing additional electric damage and you interrupt the enemy's actions. And then what's important, every single element, the debuff affects a different type of enemy. So this is something that I think is funny, because this is directly from Digimon, where certain enemy types have different effects that happen, or debuffs that happen, depending on what's hitting them. And that's directly from Digimon World. I mean, other games have it too, of course, but me being a Digimon fan, I recognize that immediately. So machine enemies are unable to move while shocked. So if you shock the big guy, the machines or anything like that, they can't move. This is why when you're fighting the construction zone machine from chapter 2, you shock it, and that's why they give you the electric team, right? And then that's why Anton in particular is amazing in shock teams. I think some of you guys have probably been seeing the videos pop up lately, or the clips with the infinite energy thing that he has if you have C1. But overall, Anton on an electric team, it's just wonderful, because it's funny because people aren't playing Anton correctly. Anyway, Anton doesn't want to be on the field unless the enemy's shocked, which is funny because when they're shocked, everything that he does is like amplified by 1,000,000. It's crazy. Anyway, assault immediately interrupts the enemy. I've showed you guys assault plenty of times before, because you guys know that that's one of, if not my favorite debuff or elemental debuff in the game. You deal a huge chunk of physical damage. So that big clean, like that's the bleed, right? You hit them, boom, all the damage is gone, just like that. And then of course, you're gonna also increase the daze inflicted on the target. This being that whenever they're assaulted, they have that daze damage go up for how much is getting done to them. It's really good. And it helps physical characters that don't have the stunner on the team. It helps them rack it up. Now, what's weird about assault they don't tell you is that assault, to my understanding, is the only debuff in the game. Every time you trigger assault, the percentage to trigger it again goes up and up and up. So let's say that it costs you 100 points of assault or physical, right? 100 physical points to trigger one assault. After you trigger the first assault, what's going to happen is now it costs you 150. Now it costs you 300. Now it costs you whatever, right? It goes up and up and up until it reaches a cap. I think the cap is literally 300 or 350, but I could be wrong on that. But that's what that is. Freezing, obviously they're frozen. They can't do anything, and then they're going to trigger shatter at the end of the effect. You can trigger shatter on your own just by like smacking the enemy really hard with a heavy attack, and then boom, you'll see shatter. You get the damage from it. It's really good. You also deal that ice damage. Frostbite is something exclusive to freeze, where it increases the crit damage taken by the target for a period of time. I don't know the specific second count on that, but I do know that this is huge, and this is a big reason why the freeze team is as strong as it is. Burns, right? Dealing continuous fire damage. Organic enemies are unable to move while burned. Also, It's not here. I think it's also for freeze. I think ethereal enemies take something. I could be wrong, but yeah, don't count me on that. But I could have sworn freeze affected the enemies too. But burn is really strong because it's a DOT, right? Tick, 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 tick. Humans can't move while they're burned because humans, right? I'm on fire. So you can't do that. And then of course, corruption. Now this is something that I want to test out, and I might test it out after this video, but this part right here, I didn't know. Corrupted ethereal enemies will also attack both friend and foe. I think I don't know this because there's never a time where I'm just gonna leave the enemy alone, right? You're never gonna just not let the enemy die. But I wanna see if this happens. So the next time that I give you guys a video or like on a stream, ask me about it and then I'll be able to confirm that. But yeah, additional ethereal damage is really good because it's a big explosion. That's something that corruption actually doesn't tell you, is that when you corrupt an enemy and then they get corrupted, there's a big boom that happens while they're, or as soon as they're corrupted, boom, everything around them, boom, they all take corruption damage, right? So it's really good. But I think that should be it. I feel like a good like 20-30 minute video of me talking everything about teams. This is off the dome. There was no way I was going to be able to structure this in a way without going through everything in my head so that you guys understood things. Some things might be rambly. That's my bad if I didn't cut it out, but it is what it is. I wanted to give y'all everything about the team building structure though, so that you are more aware of it, because my job isn't to, I don't want to be like a guide creator that like, you need to do this, 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 this. This is the exact way you do it or else. I want to be the type of creator that I can put, like I plant the seed, right? I put the idea in your head, I teach you how to fish, and then you're out there like doing all your own crazy combos. Because at the end of the day, I want y'all to send me cool combos. Like when you guys send me cool shit on Twitter, or like y'all will DM me, I see it. I might not respond because I get a little busy or I'm asleep, but I see it. Y'all will be DMing me and like, yo, look at this. Like I was messing around with this liking thing and like I got this crazy launch and they went high in the air and then I shot off Nicole's orb and, you know, liking kicked them up and I was like, yo, that's sick. Like, I see you, keep sending them my way. I love it. But some general do's and don'ts so we can wrap this video up, right? Read the character's kit. I talked about that earlier, but absolutely read the character's kit. If you go through the character and, you know, Soldier 11 is your favorite character, there were so many of you that had no idea you could always activate fire suppression, which puts Soldier 11's damage. Her raw damage output is insane in this game compared to any other character, simply based on execution. And of course, other characters have some strong execution skills to them as well. But in Soldier 11's case, it's not super hard. You just time it and you got it, you're good to go. And that leads me into the next tip: learn characters one by one. From someone that was playing Marvel, and I hated Marvel, right? Because Marvel, you have to learn 2 or 3 characters. Skullgirls, you have to learn 2 or 3 characters. King of Fighters, you have to learn 2 or 3 characters. It's really hard to learn a multitude of characters at one time when all the characters have their own kit and they all do something different. This is completely different than something like Genshin Impact, where Genshin Impact is very much like, hey, do skill, do basic attack, swap in, do skill, swap out. Like, it's a rotation, legit. But in this game, especially with it being active, there is no rotation. Like, there is no true rotation in this game, right? The only rotation you have is combos. And since most of the community isn't used to using combos yet, it's different. I can't tell you like, oh, the rotation and be basic 1, 2, 3 in the uppercut, but not special, right? Just regular uppercut. And then you swap cancel or you switch tech into so-and-so. And then so-and-so does 1, 2, but you cancel the 2 with the dash attack. And then you go into a basic attack kick. And then you go into your skill, but not an EX skill, a regular skill. Then you switch tech back into ambi. You do dash attack 1 into uppercut. Then you go into your DPS character. Like, it's way too much, right? So that I can't tell you that's the rotation, because at that point I'm just giving you this really advanced combo. But if you learn the character's kit on your own and you learn what it is they want to do and how they want to do it, you can start creating your own combos. And the game is so much more fluid and creative than some players are trying to give it the credit that it isn't, but it really is. Last tip that I have for you guys, or rather second to last tip, use the training mode. I talked about that briefly, but you guys seen us doing all these juggle combos on Twitter. That's just what we're into, right? I'm into juggle combos because I think they look cool. I'm into Oki because I think I don't want my opponent to play the game. Even if it's fake in this game, I still like doing it. One of the more useful things is figuring out how quickly you can daze an enemy in one combo, or how quickly you can trigger disorder, like I showed you guys earlier with Grace and Rena, and then applying Nekomata on there as well. So-and-so XYZ team setup, right? It doesn't really matter what you do. It's just playing around with it. There's nothing set in stone. You guys can treat this game super casual as far as like learning stuff. And then of course, my last tip is to have fun. None of this matters if you're not having fun. Don't do any of this crap if you're not gonna have fun. If you're not the type that wants to sit in the lab all day, don't sit in the lab all day. You know, you just want to see the combos, like I can do that. wait for somebody to post them up and then copy it. I do the same shit in Street Fighter, dude. I'll see a Cammy combo or Rashid combo. I was like, hey man, I can do that. But that's like my what do they call that? Your red flag or your something? I don't know. I think I can do something because I saw it. Like I'm like, yo, Sharingan. I can't do that shit, bro. I got to get in the lab. So it is what it is. Anyway, long video. Happy Sunday. Is today Sunday, bro? Yo, I don't know what. Oh yeah, wait, no, hold on. My phone is tripping. It says swipe to unlock. I don't know what today is. So it's either Saturday or Sunday, but whatever day it is, I know Chick-fil-A ain't open. So it's probably Sunday. Yeah, that's it. I can't say my user outro. Subscribe to the video if you want more of this stuff. Share with your friends and tell them to subscribe because I want to hit like 20K. Can I hit 20K? Yo, that'd be cool if we can hit 20K by the end of my, anyway, smell you later.